Greetings, radiant souls. I am Dr. Vivian here, your guide on Arise and Shine. It's always a pleasure to have you on this podcast. Today, we are delving into something that is interesting, exciting, and I think it resonates with dreamers and doers alike. And what is that? The entrepreneurial spirit. Bouncing back from business failures. So, would you join me for a journey of resilience, biblical wisdom, and strategies to reignite the entrepreneurial flame after setbacks? So I hope someone is listening. If you are new to our podcast, share, like, join, click, follow our podcast so that when we upload new podcast episodes, you would be the first one to know. So let's get back into our conversation for today. Entrepreneurship is a thrilling journey. It's filled with peaks, it's filled with valleys, and we can actually start by going to the good book. I go to the good book always. Let's look at the leader David, rising from a shepherd boy to a king. So we could see that his entrepreneurial spirit catapulted him from tending sheep to leading a kingdom. So what lessons could we learn from his journey? You would see this guy as someone who is a problem solver. This guy, when he met King Saul, he told Saul that I take care of my father's sheep, I have never lost any of them. When the bear comes, when all kinds of intruders come to attack the sheep, I fight them. He is a problem solver, an innovator, thinking of new ways of doing things. This guy is still a shepherd boy, and you hear the encounter with Goliath, and this guy has been a threat to the whole of Israel for a long time. And he comes and says, nope, I think I found a new way of solving this problem once and for all. I am going to face this guy using both physical and spiritual tools to bring him down, because I know that God can give this guy into my hands. While everyone else was looking at their weapons and everything and saying, oh, we can't stand this guy, he comes and say, I've got an innovation. Why not think about partnering with God and bringing this guy down? He's a risk taker. The very fact that he fights animals that come, wild animals for that matter, that come to attack his sheep. The very fact that he took the risk to fight Goliath. And when you look through his career, you begin to see someone who takes risk. And these are entrepreneurial traits. This guy forms partnerships, sustainable partnerships. You see his partnership when he was in Saul's palace, his partnership with Jonathan, Saul's son, and that became a partnership that helped save his life. And every time in his leadership, his partnership with a higher authority, which is God. And you can go on and on with the kind of entrepreneurial lessons from this guy. He analyzes situations. He would even check and see, is this risk worth taking? Is this war worth fighting? And that is what entrepreneurship is all about. And you could see this guy moving from tending sheep to rising to the highest office in the land because of this kind of traits that you can pick up from all levels of his life. Someone might be listening and say, David lived in Bible days, and can we talk about something more real? Yes, recording my podcast today using my iPhone, and that brings us to one of my favorite entrepreneurs. Who still lives on even after he is dead, because his entrepreneurship, his business, continue to benefit you and I and the whole world, and that is Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. This guy faced all kinds of failures on his entrepreneurial journey. Some people told him at the time when he wanted to start even the first iPhone that there is no market for this thing. He had lots of setbacks. There were times when he even had to close shop, go back and look for a job because things were not moving. But there was a spirit inside of him, and that is what I want you listeners to take home: the entrepreneurial spirit. The spirit, how do you keep it alive? How do you not let circumstances, let setbacks kill that, like it was with David in the Bible days, like it was with Steve Jobs, and with many of us that are walking this journey of entrepreneurship. When the setbacks come, how do you keep the flame, the fire, the entrepreneur in you alive? Business failures are not an end, but it's a new beginning. And if we go back to the good book in Genesis, and we see someone like Joseph, and the amount of setbacks that he faced, from being sold as a slave to being working as a domestic worker, his resilience and innovative thinking turned all his adversity into prosperity. How can his story inspire you and I on my entrepreneurial journey? And the answer to it, or part of the answer to it, is that we need to know that the entrepreneurial spirit needs to be fed. It needs to be kept alive. It cannot be killed by circumstances. It can only die if we let it be. So when we listen to people, one of our listeners said he had a bankruptcy, closed shop, everything gone, business down. And is that the end of it? The question is, you're still alive, your brain's still working. And he explains how he rose, he picked the broken pieces from this bankruptcy to actually recreating, rebranding himself into a more successful entrepreneur. And that tells us that setbacks can actually be a catalyst for extraordinary comebacks, if we feed the entrepreneurial spirit, like David did, like Joseph did, like Steve Jobs, like many. So the entrepreneurial spirit, it thrives on resilience. The book of Proverbs chapter 24 and in verse 16 says, "For the righteous falls 7 times, but he rises again." He rises again. Each failure is a stepping stone to success. How can we harness this resilience practically? And it is important for us to begin to look at practical steps to bring alive this resilience, the spirit that says that I am going to feed my entrepreneurial spirit no matter what comes my way. I am going to cultivate that unwavering entrepreneurial spirit. So one of the things is innovation. There are always new ways to do something, because failure just tells us that we have found one more way on how not to do something, and learning that from who? The famous Thomas Edison. When you look at his numerous failures in his attempt to discover the light bulb and how this never deterred him. Every time he failed, he said, I have discovered one more new way on how not to do this again. And he remained determined. As an entrepreneur, we need to embrace failure as a pathway to groundbreaking innovation. There is always a new way. There is always a new approach. So I hope that our discussions today has opened our minds to know that there is a spirit in man. There is an entrepreneurial spirit in man that can be kept alive and fed no matter how hard the journey gets, no matter how much times we fail or how many times we fail, we can always innovate and rebrand and recreate. So what an extraordinary, what a beautiful journey, luminous journey we've had today. We've delved into the heart of entrepreneurship, the heights, the lows, the art of bouncing back from business failures. So as we begin to wrap up this episode for today, as usual, I want to leave you with a spark to ignite your entrepreneurial flame. Maybe you have been beaten, you have been burned, you have been bruised, you have been discouraged on your path to entrepreneurship, whether it's social entrepreneurship, whether it's any kind of entrepreneurship. So picture this: your entrepreneurial spirit can never die. It rises from every setback and it gets stronger and stronger and more resilient than ever. David faced giants. Joseph navigated the pit and the prison, and Thomas Edison illuminated the world with a light bulb. Their stories echo through times, inviting us to transform adversity into what? Into opportunity. So now let me share a quote from Proverbs chapter 16 and in verse 3. Commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will be established. So our entrepreneurial journey are not solitary. We are not alone. You are woven into a larger community. So commit your effort, learn from setbacks, and let faith guide your path. There is nothing wrong with learning or doing something again and again. So as you face your entrepreneurial challenges, remember that each setback is a chapter, not the entire story. Share your setbacks, your triumphs, your insights. Subscribe to our podcast, Arise and Shine podcast with Dr. Vivian Arthur. Stay connected. Let's continue to arise and shine together. Until next time, may your entrepreneurial spirit blaze brightly, resilient and ready for the next grand chapter in your life. Keep shining.